Hey guys, do you hear that? Listen real closely. There's a clock ticking in the room. Do you hear it? Whether you heard it or not, I'm going to be talking about that clock today because we're going to use it as an example for what I think is one of the most important skills that any musician should develop, and that is the skill of observation. Okay, I've muffled the clock sound, so hopefully you won't hear it for the rest of the video, but we're going to bring it back in just a moment. We're going to talk about it. So first of all, my name is David Lane. I teach piano, composition, and music theory, and today I want to talk to you about the skill of observation. It's something we don't cultivate much until we have a need to, and a lot of times that first time we need to do is when we are learning to play the piano or some other instrument. I want to talk about a typical intermediate level piano piece, something like Clementi's Sonatina Opus 36 No. 1. So I'm just going to count off some things that you need to notice. So let's start off with the obvious ones. We want to start off with what is the rhythm. And of course, before we do that, we look at the time signature. We want to make sure that it's treble clef on the top staff, bass clef on the bottom staff. We want to notice what key we're in. And we see the absence of a key signature. We know that we're in C major. Depending on the edition, we may have some fingerings. We almost certainly have a tempo. Mine is marked allegro. You want to notice if there are slurs, if there's staccatos, if there are accents. You want to look at the dynamics. And that's kind of interesting too, because some of the dynamics are marked like with the word crescendo and others are shown with the hairpin. We want to notice that there's a repeat sign at the halfway point and also at the very end. But then we want to get into other things. We want to notice how it changes to the key of G major halfway through the exposition, and how it goes through a few other keys before it comes back to C major to stay put. We want to notice how the recapitulation is very similar to the exposition, but also how it's different. There are motives, 3, 4, 5-note patterns that pop up throughout. The very first measure appears later toward the end as a figure that goes upside down. And we can go on, and this is part of what it is to explore a piece of music. You get away from the surface, and then you start looking for other things, other details. You have to look big picture, you have to look small picture. So now I want to talk about the clock that I have on this wall over here. So grab yourself a sheet of paper, a scratch sheet of paper will be fine, and I want you to look at this clock, and I want you to write down as many things as you notice about it. It doesn't matter how mundane it is, I just want you to notice every detail that you can see. Now I know it's not going to be as much as you would get if you were in the same room and you could touch it, or you could, see the 3 dimensions of it. So I'll help you out as we go, but let's just start with, can you name 5 things that you notice about this clock? Can you name 10 things about this clock? So I'm going to let you look at it while I play a 45-second improvisation for you. So go ahead and write down what you see. Ready, set, go. Okay, time's up. So let's look at my list of the things that I noticed about this clock. So we'll start with the fact that it's green. It's kind of a swamp green color. The second thing I notice is that it's round. So I know I'm hitting the obvious here, but it is a round object. There are 3 different pointers, or what we call hands, for the hour, the minute, and the second. The fourth thing I notice is that, we have big numbers going from 1 to 12. The fifth thing that I notice is that we have these little minute tick markers along the edge for each minute. There are some small numbers, all divisible by 5. The seventh thing I notice is that, and of course you wouldn't necessarily know this for sure unless you're in the room, but it's made of plastic. The eighth thing also I notice, it's not flat. It does have 3 dimensions. Ninth, there is some paint fading in various places. 10th, another one that's a little obvious, but it ticks once per second, or 60 beats per minute. There are scratches on the face. Number 12. This is interesting. If you look at those big numbers, there are 5 1s and there are 2 2s. The 13th thing I notice is that all 3 of those hands, the hour, minute, and second, they all join in the center, kind of held by a little knob there in the middle. 14th thing, this is a Sterling & Noble brand clock. 15th thing I notice is when I look at that brand, Sterling & Noble, it uses all capital letters. The 16th thing that I notice is that if you look at those little numbers, when you go from 15 to 20 and when you go from 40 to 45, the numbers change directions in the way that they're facing. The 17th thing that I notice is when you look at the little numbers, there are 7 zeros, there are 8 5s, and there is not a single 7, 8, or 9. The 18th thing that I noticed is when I look at the back, it takes 1 AA battery. The 19th thing I notice is also in the back, there is a place for it to hang. And the 20th and the final thing that I noticed this in looking at this exercise is that there are 2 bits that poke out for no apparent reason. Maybe you guys can tell me what it means, but I have no idea what that is for. So this is an exercise that you should try very often. Just pick any object and write down as many things as you can notice. And of course, start doing this with your music. The more you notice, the better of a musician you will be. If you enjoyed this video, I would be so honored if you would click the thumbs up. If you would also subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. And if you'd share this video with a friend, especially a piano student who might get some benefit out of this. Also, let me know in the comments, what are some other things you notice about the clock? Or anything else in this video that you want to point out. Thank you so much for watching.